Hey, and welcome back to the Wicked Wild Podcast, a feral podcast for the uncivilized horror fans. And if you've been listening at all, you know in 2024 we did something different where we did blocks of movies curated by each of our hosts. And tonight we do our last block, which is the Dave Cave. It's my block of movies. It's the final block of curated stuff. We hope you're in for it, and it's really my time to shine. I think I'm going to share from the heart, as Dave usually does, some movies that are special to me. And as we go through the tour of my movies, I'll give some explanations of that. But before we get into that, let me introduce you to our other host this evening. We got Eli up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. How's it going, Eli?
Sup.
So I am excited to discuss this movie with you because and this is not a joke. You are an actual subject matter expert on parts of what we're going to be talking about tonight.
Yeah, I am.
So can you give us a general description of that room in an old basement filled with dead bodies and human organ specimens? Like, how does it smell? What's the vibe down there?
The location, surprisingly accurate looking. I will say that when you go a place like that, there's three predominant smells. Normally cleaner of some type.
That's a good sign.
That's a good sign. There's a chemically smell normally associated with like the chemicals that's being used and so forth. It's that of not the cleaning type.
Yeah.
And the third one is what I like to call the aroma, which is kind of whatever you're looking at the moment may have the general like death smell, or you got something crazy going on and there's a very distinct smell associated with it, like fire hadn't been found in 6 weeks.
Some contextual aroma.
Yeah, I like that contextual aroma. But the one thing I will say, typically when you work in this type of environment, those smells kind of like after like a week, those smells don't really, when you're there every day, you don't really notice them anymore.
Yeah.
But it's always a treat seeing someone come in who is not used to those smells, watching their face do almost a 10-point gymnastic routine.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what the fuck am I smelling?
Like they've totally skipped the 8 first levels of hell and just arrived at the 9th kind of thing.
And the worst is like, because folks that don't know, I used to be a funeral director. Not anymore. Retired, let's say, if you will say. But I always felt bad like when you get like some interns in the room or like people new to the industry, and like the first one they're walking to was something that would not be what I would call like the standard smells. They went beyond
a bonus smell,
because like you could almost see the questioning of career choices and all the decisions that led to this moment in about a 2-second interval.
Yeah, and you're there going, yeah. You're just looking them dead in the eye, going, yeah, this is it.
Well, you almost get to a point where you forget like that these smells are not normal or should not be the standard smell, and you'd be like, "What's wrong? Are you okay? What's wrong?" And they're like, "What's that smell?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, oh yeah."
And on that note, let me introduce our other host. We got Jamie up in New Jersey. How's it going, Jamie?
It's going pretty good.
So I'm also very excited to talk about this movie with you as an actual subject matter expert for this week's movie. Do you have any opening comments on Jane Doe's form or her Rollins?
For what I was the expert in, and I love it. Oh, it's amazing. I mean, we will talk about this, but
at length, I'm sure.
Course, yeah, because one of my notes is that this poor woman has to lay through this whole movie like naked. And
yeah.
Like, I mean, impeccable. She's impeccable, but like, you know,
what a champion.
Yeah. And we'll get there. And even just the way she presents in every like she's killing it. Even just being on that slab, she's freaking killing it. We'll at length probably talk about.
Yeah. Oh yeah. without getting into any of the details, obviously this is a comment that our friend Jamie makes all the time. One of the things that she misses about the old classic horror movies is boobies.
Boobies, and these are tragic boobies, but
exactly.
Boobies. I do want to say at the top of this episode too that
I like the description of boobies. I got I almost feel like you should make your own booby classification system. Yeah,
ooh, your scorecard.
You have your tragic boobies, but then you have your I feel like that's something, and we'll call it
fun boobies.
Yeah, the unfortunate boobies, things like that. We'll call it Jamie's booby scale.
When Dave gives me year of the boobies,
it's on.
Or to make it sound classy, instead of booby scale, do we call it scale of boobies?
Sure.
That sounds a little more classy, you know what I mean?
Or best of the breast.
Oh, come on, Dave. Amazing.
That's a t-shirt. Oh man, that's a t-shirt for your scale. The Jamie scale of boobies, best of the breast, 2014. Just put any year you want on there.
I wanted to say up top on this because Dave already touched on it that our listeners, I don't even know how much they know because usually, but they're going to get the tiniest glimpse into what I used to make Eli stay after recording and tell me stories about. So just they're about to get the minor of what I have literally asked questions about either after recording, whatever. Especially, usually it was related to something that we talked about or whatever. But so I'm excited to take the listeners on this journey.
And I'm sure Eli, the whole time he's watching this movie, he's getting more excited. He's probably remembering stories that he wants to bring to our audience. But before he can do that, he's got to give us this week's update on the paranormal. Let's talk the living before we get to the dead. And of course, if I know anything about Eli's time with the paranormal investigation, it all leads to death either way. That's what he's guaranteed all of us. So before we get into our movie review, let me give Eli his opportunity this week to give you your update that you need to know in a little section we call the Wicked Whispers.
Dave, I'm not saying that if all these tarot card people who read tarot cards out there, for some reason, every time they do a reading,
wait, I'm sorry,
death card.
Did you?
Tarot. I did say tarot.
Did you say tarot card? Okay,
tarot. I did say tarot. I apologize. My West Virginia came through there for a minute.
I'm sorry to stop, but my brain locked up. Did he literally just say tarot cards?
I at work, it's a running gag where if I have a bunch of things going on, someone will ask me something, and I'll be purely focused on something, and I'll go to answer something, and they'll go, and also I'll just hear, why'd you say it that way? And I'm is your little West Virginia coming through? And I'm like, shut up. Because I ever since this podcast, I have worked very hard not to say the word wolves or wolf. And of course, the other day I wasn't paying attention, and someone was like, hey, where is this? And I'm like, oh, it's in the box with all the other wolf cards. And they're like, the what?
The what cards?
What did you just say? But no, hey
Eli, if somebody wanted to play Warhammer 40K but really was into Viking and the lore of Norse mythology, what Space Marine group would you recommend?
Any other one, because I'm you're lame if you're going for that. Grab that low hanging fruit. For what? Yeah. There is an army that deals with that kind of Viking vibe, and I would say just don't do it.
Sorry, go ahead.
The Space Wolves, by the way. But Wicked Whispers, another doozy of a week, of course. All leads to death. Coming out, there's been some leaks, more leaks coming out that apparently the U.S. government will be holding another hearing on UFOs. But apparently there's going to be more disclosure this time because there's been some internal threats of releasing information. Don't know what that means, but they think it may have to do. Another group of scientists came out this week, and Bob Lazar, who his story was famous back in the 80s, saying he worked at Area 51 and he was part of this group trying to reverse engineer UFO, and he saw a UFO and all this stuff, and they said he was a hack. And then over time, he talked about this element that people said didn't exist, and that's how they disproved them. And then like 10 years ago, they're like, so there's this element, and it was real. He talked about technology that they said wasn't real. And then like within the last 10 years, they're like, oh, by the way, we have this technology. And there was this theory he talked about in terms of gravity. And at the beginning of the year, this guy with the help of AI figured out the math to make a gravity engine, which he claimed powered UFOs. And then he also talked about this frequency. And just this week, these scientists came out and go, this is very possible. Here's the math to prove it. So don't know what that all means, but either we're about to blow the lid off aliens and they're not going to like that. We're going to get smacked around. Or they're just going to be like, oh, great. Now these apes figured out gravity. So we don't need them anymore. So there's death there, not concerning. Let's see. In AI news, AI is getting smarter. It's not only this year figured out how to lie at us. It's gotten to the point where all these like captchas, when you go online, and they try to do like make sure you're not a robot test, they're figuring out how to circumnavigate all of them. So much so that a lot of companies are implementing a new one where you put a piece in a crossword puzzle, because as of now, AI can't physically move the piece. As of now. So that's not terrifying. That right now our only safety net is a fucking jigsaw puzzle against AI. That's not terrifying at all. But hey, who are we to worry, right?
What could possibly go wrong?
What could go wrong? Let's see. There's been some more Bigfoot sightings this week. So he's up and running around, just doing Bigfoot things. Not terrifying, nothing to worry about, I'm sure. They're still looking for the Loch Ness Monster after that video surfaced. Have not found it yet. But if I may make a suggestion, let's leave him in the lake. He doesn't need to come out and play. Let's just leave him in the lake for now.
Yeah.
I think we have enough going on currently that fighting Loch Ness Monster doesn't have to be one of them. And then finally, this company came out, and because of the, defrosting, what I'm affectionately referring to as the great defrost of the Arctic, they found these seeds that were millions of years old, and they're growing them now. And they're like, hey, we have a plant. It's budding. People are like, what are the properties of this plant? What does it do? They're like, we don't know yet, but we're growing it. It's growing fast. So great. So if anybody had prehistoric vegetation killing us, guess what? You just got a new spot on your bingo card.
What was the plant's name in Little Shop of Horrors? That's pretty much what
Seymour.
we're going.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. It's got to be World Seymour's. And then finally.
Seymour's the
plant's Audrey too.
Audrey too.
Oh, Audrey too. That's right.
Yeah, Seymour's the shop owner.
The guy, Feed Me Seymour. Yeah.
Close.
Yeah, whatever. And then finally, we noticed the last Wicked Whisper, I talked about how, these cordyceps mushrooms, very similar to the Last of Us, that they said, well, it only really exists South America. We don't have to worry about it. Then they found it in the U.S. They're finding more of it. They're finding it can survive across a multitude of climates. So I am sure this is not the start of a terrifying post-apocalyptic future that is becoming very real daily.
Yeah. It can also survive across a multitude of species, is what we're learning too.
They at first it was just insects, and now they're saying, well, just small mammals and spiders. But that's it. Don't even worry about it.
Luckily, I can't think of any small mammals that have spread any other kind of apocalyptic disease across the planet.
No,
can't think of one.
I mean, listen, Dave, I don't know why you're bringing this up when, literally just last year, California found their whole a park in Northern California found their whole squirrel population was decimated by the bubonic plague. I don't know what you're getting at, guy. I don't know what you're getting at.
Just talking out of my behind.
All I know is
Need to get me a deck of them tarot cards is what I need to do.
I would, because you know what? There's no point, because I can read your future for you. It's death.
It sucks.
This planet is spinning straight into the abyss every day. But hey, people, you keep turning on and seeing what your Kardashians are doing, and that football player Taylor Swift is courting and stuff. Like, it's fine. Don't worry about it.
I just had a great idea for you, Eli, for a new product that you need to merchandise is a set of tarot cards that are just all death cards, just a stack of death cards.
Call it the Mole King.
Fuck around and find out.
Guaranteed future predicted tarot cards. But I'm gonna put tarot 2 R's, like carrot. It'll be great. It'll be the last gift you'll probably buy for a Christmas ever, because this is probably our last Christmas.
And if you act now, it'll come packaged with its own custom Cagner.
and it's custom per order. So you just tell me who the Cagner you want, and I'll build it. And as a special premise, remember back in the 80s when Kiss did their comic book, but so many issues had to drop the blood and ink?
Yeah.
1 out of every 1,000 Cagners be made out of my own poop.
Oh my God.
See, you take a good idea and then
everybody wants a piece of the Mole King, you know what I mean?
No, I don't think they do.
Maybe not 100% poop. Maybe I'll just get some poop flex.
Oh Jesus.
Flex it in the material.
Okay. I'm going to move along.
3D printer, right? You have a 3D printer, right?
We're going to say Wicked Whispers is done. Jamie, thoughts? You think you agree? Let's take a vote real quick.
I think we're good for tonight.
So let's get back to our movie review this week, which is The Autopsy of Jane Doe. And as we do every week, we're going to do a on-the-fly synopsis before we get into it. And I'm going to ask Eli a question as I mentioned, as a subject matter expert. I've got a very serious question for him. So having dealt with the preparation of human remains in a past career, which of these two options would you prefer to spend a late stormy night with all alone in your mortuary? A sewage processing facility drowning victim, or a burn victim from a furry convention? All that polyester melted into their skin.
Sewage all the way.
You don't
just because hey, listen, hey people, you do you. But I'd rather just deal with poop.
I thought I was genuinely curious, which of those ways you would go. So
it's more the poop washes off. Polyester not so easy.
Oh God.
Polyester bonded with flesh.
And it's gonna be creepy enough because I'm just imagining the big helmet will still be there.
Big melted helmet, yeah. Well, that's me. I'm the unfortunate drowning victim at the sewage processing facility. So
how'd you fall in?
I don't really want to get into it. There was tickling involved. That's all I'll say. So
with the furry.
Hey, if there's one thing I've always heard of that don't tickle near the guardrail signs at the sewage processing plant.
I thought everybody knew that. Apparently not.
Wow. So you were the tickler? You're the ticklee?
No, I was the victim. I was definitely the one
you were being tickled.
Yeah,
okay.
So The Autopsy of Jane Doe. This is a movie that we'll get into, but as far as a summary of the plot, what you've got is a movie that opens as a true crime procedural. There's been this mass murder in this small town in Virginia that's happened in this little residence that seems to be either an internal job, a domestic violence thing, or a break-in, but there is no signs that anybody broke in. So you have your investigative mystery. But during the investigation, they find in the basement, in a hole that's half dug, and I can't even say the remains, but the body of, because it's not remains. She seems completely pristine, but this young woman who is just like buried in the foundation of the house, which is completely impossible, but there she is. So that becomes the new mystery. Then we meet a father-son mortuary, and actually, I think they are coroners and crime scene investigators. I think they do more than just the preparation of the bodies. But anyway, we'll get into that. And they are the only experts in the area. The father, played by Brian Cox, is like one of the best. You know, he's apparently been doing this. He's like second generation. His son is third generation doing this job. But as they deal with this body that's brought in by the sheriff saying, I need to know by dawn who this person is and how they got there. Like, this is a problem for my investigation because it doesn't seem to have anything to do with the actual crimes, but she's there and I need to know what's the deal. So as the night goes on, more and more strange things happen. They have more discoveries around the body that are more and more unlikely or impossible. Things become supernatural. And that's where we'll leave it. And we'll talk more about it. But that's where the movie gets into the horror side of it hard.
Shenanigans ensue.
Shenanigans deeply, deeply ensue.
This is
Shenanigans.
the shenanigans ensuing.
This is the most shenanigan movie I've seen.
Oh, it's a Shanigan masterpiece for sure. So let's get into it. And again, I'm going to let Eli go first, just because that's who I have on the list. And he's somebody who has done this before. So I'm excited to hear, did you see this in theaters? Were you excited about this movie? Were you aware of it? What's your experience with this movie overall?
I did not see this in theaters. I remember this came out if I remember correctly, I don't think it was in theaters very long, or it didn't have a big release. And then I remember seeing it in the Walmart bin, which I typically did not delve into because it wasn't the good bin. It was you'd see those collections of 4 movies or whatever. And I was like,
there's a bunch of crappy movies. Yeah. And
so I didn't watch this when it first came out. I first saw this, it was only a couple years ago, and I was sick and I was laying on the couch. I had my puppers at my feet and I was like, I'm just sick. I just kind of watch a horror movie. I don't know. I'm probably going to fall asleep during it. And I was going through Netflix and this was just there. And I'm like, fuck it. I'm going to sleep there anyways. It's probably terrible. And I don't know, after once you get kind of to the beginning, about 15 minutes in, this movie gets a fucking hold on you. Mm-hmm. The atmosphere in this movie is almost Hitchcockian level of creating that sense of dread before a lot of stuff even happens, or anything of value, I should say, happens. But you're just oh, this ain't gonna be good. This ain't gonna be good. Brian Cox, masterpiece. The kid didn't annoy the shit out of me, which is rare. And for the fact that this whole movie takes place in 3 rooms primarily, and
it could be a stage play.
Yeah. And they're able to utilize that so well, is fantastic. The ending, we'll
get there.
I got a few gripes.
We'll get there.
Just for the fact that this is a movie about a witch who historically really one of their most terrifying and probably most powerful aspect is their glamour. And this whole movie, you're watching a witch glamour people to whatever happens, not spoiling yet, was fantastic. Because a lot of movies, they always amp up their witches to they're blowing fireballs and they're doing this big cauldron and they're doing all this stuff where historically witch lore is glamour was the most terrifying ability they had. And the fact that this movie uses that and so well was fantastic. I love it. The story's great, power's great. Everything about this movie is fantastic. even though like when I first started watching, I was like, coroners don't do autopsies. That's illegal.
I think he's like a medical examiner.
Even in rural
He's
Virginia.
Yeah.
He called himself a coroner.
Okay, yeah.
If he was a doctor, he would legally have to go by medical examiner.
Okay.
And just saying that, and then just
put your glasses up. This is your opportunity.
Yep,
just saying, I remember that came out. I was like, okay,
no, sir, I don't think so.
And they weren't wearing the correct PPE because breathing in bone dust is highly dangerous and toxic to human beings. And some of their instruments they were using was not accurate because they just look like garden tools. Other than
you did tell me once before, this again off recording or maybe whatever, that this was one of the most realistic.
It was
I remember that.
I will say, in terms of process,
the procedure
and look, one of the most realistic.
Okay, yeah,
one of the most unrealistic, if anybody's wondering, would be Saw 4. And that shitty mortuary movie with Liam Hemsworth.
What?
Or not Liam Hemsworth, Liam
I don't even know what movie.
Oh fuck, not Liam Hemsworth. It's Liam whatever and Christina Ricci. That shitty horror movie. Taken. Liam from Taken.
Liam Neeson?
Liam Neeson and Christina Ricci.
I don't even know what movie that is.
I think it's called Mortuary. It's terrible.
Okay, I've never seen it.
Did somebody steal his dead daughter?
No, he's like this funeral director, and it's just Christina Ricci laying naked on a table the whole movie, talking to him.
Oh, okay.
Don't really understand what's happening or what's going on. But other than that, I did like this movie a lot.
Yeah. You had a good time. Do you watch it on the regular, or is this one that you don't think about very often?
This one I do watch. I like whenever I'm getting like a bug, because I like we've established here. I like horror, like lore horror, or like
lore. That's the new term we're making.
That's what I'm making up. Like
lore.
Lore. I like lore. No, I like a lot of lore based horror, and I really like when they get like accurate lore, because I'm like, oh, and like so whenever I'm getting that itch and I'm like, oh, I watched Blair Witch last time, or like, oh, where I'm like, oh, I'm like, I'll watch this. Because I'm gonna claim it now. Besides The Witch, this may be one of the best example of witches in a horror film.
Ooh, bold statement. Bold statement. I'm not arguing with you. I may be in alignment, but we'll get there. All right, Jamie, you're up. This is Dave's first movie. What's your experience with this movie, and what did you think about it in this latest watch?
I also don't even remember this going to theaters, so it could have been a sleeper. So I did not see it in theaters. When I first saw it, I'm not really sure. Since I first saw it, I have seen this many, many, many times, like this year alone. I love this movie. Now, coming from Gore Princess over here, like,
I'm so proud of you, Jamie.
I love this movie. And this is like a movie, and it's so funny because I never really, like, Eli, so many of the things you said were like my first top notes. So I'll do them really quickly. But like the first thing I would say is like, this is a movie that I actually recommend to a lot of people because it's like creepy, but it's not too gory, and it's not, so it hits a lot of notes. So it's like, I could recommend it to people who do love horror, because so do I. And I think it's a great movie, but I could also recommend it to people who like, maybe, I don't know anybody at this point trying to get into horror, but like that doesn't like gore, but they want something creepy or spooky or scary or anything, or just in that vein. I could recommend it to those people because like, it's not gross, if you want to call it that, right. It's not.
It's not going to scar somebody. No.
So it's a movie. It's like one of the highly recommended movies from me, just because it crosses so many different people's kind of buckets or genres. This is always up there with something I could recommend to people. I'm going to start with the things Eli touched on, because they literally were my notes of why I love this. The atmosphere is fantastic. This movie, like everybody says, is such a small space, but it never feels claustrophobic. It feels like you're dealing with a movie that hits all these different places, but it never does. It literally stays in this basement. They don't even get above the basement. They are like there the whole time. A couple of different rooms, 3 maybe, but like you don't ever feel like you're just like, oh my God, this whole movie has been in the same space, like ever. and maybe it's because the movie is so engaging. Like, I really find this movie super engaging. And like, there's only 2 characters really. We won't even count the girlfriend, but I like them both. They're both really good. They're believable. They're not fucking dumb. Like, literally, the moment shit goes sideways, they say, let's get the fuck out of here, but they can't. We'll get there. But like, they're not idiots. They handle things to a semi-believable degree. We'll talk about like the few shortcomings in this. We'll talk at the ending. But this movie just... there's gimmicks in it that work. Like, even the jump scares work. They're not like heavy-handed or even stupidly played or whatever. And like some others, they're just the bell thing in this gets me. I love the use of the bell gimmick in this.
Preach.
Yeah. So before I just go off on like everything, I'll just leave it at that I love this movie, and we'll get into like the details. I think the rest of it, because I could keep going, but like I also want to touch on scenes and stuff as examples. So then that would just get too detaily. So we'll just say that like we're gonna have a fun time talking about this movie. Yeah, this one,
even watching this last night. I mean, this one has not faded at all for me.
No,
it's just one that I can put on any time, and I'm going to have a blast. And the stuff in it that's supposed to get you still works on me, which is so rare for me at this age, and as many horror movies as I've seen. Like, the stuff still creeps me out.
Yeah,
the right
put this
stuff
on in a dark room, right? Put this on in a silent dark room, and expect someone not to get like at least unsettled.
Your skin will crawl. Yeah. But I thought a lot about my block, and it's sort of a double-edged sword to be the last of us to go. I've had way too much time to think about and question and doubt, and I've actually changed a couple of movies as we move forward. But this one never moved. This was the one I wanted to open on because I love this movie because of how much it surprised me when I first saw it. Like, it was not at all what I expected it to be. And in the best kinds of ways. And you both had mentioned it in theaters. I did see it in theaters. The reason you can't remember the theater experience with this is this was a Christmas release in 2016.
Oh, God.
So it was in the middle of all the Christmas marketing for all the Christmas movies. This movie came out, and I went and saw it because I was like, well, it's one of these throwaway horror movies that they've got at the end of the year they don't know what to do with. And the trailers looked cool as hell. I mean, the aesthetic was beautiful to me. So I went and saw it, and I was just blown away. Like, literally my mouth open watching this movie. Like, when the hammer drops, which we'll get to, like when the scene happens where things go hard left, it does not stop from that point forward. I mean, it just keeps on you. This pick for me in my block is my representative of everything that I love about J horror, everything I love about K horror, everything I love about folk horrors. It's all about atmosphere and engaging all your senses. Like, it is a slow burn, ratcheting, never letting up. It's constantly building the anxiety in a very methodical way. And then you hit this wall where it just drops you to the floor. And then it just grinds you at that point. That's what I love about J horror, because J horror is really good at this, like this atmospheric, supernatural, what the hell's going on stuff. Like, what you think is going to happen is not what's going to happen at all. And for a Western movie, I mean, it's Andre Ovredal. I mean, it's a Norwegian director, but it's his first English language movie. So I consider it a Western movie. But it's so not a Western movie in the way it was built. And I had so much fun with that. To this day, when that examination room goes black and when the lights come on a few seconds later, all the body lockers are open, the trays are pulled out, and there's nobody there, I still have that oh shit reaction to that. Like, it's just, okay, now we're screwed. Because you can read it on the faces of the guys. The movie is beautifully shot. Like I said, it's so well balanced. Your audio plays such a huge role in this movie. Visually, even tactically, like the way things look like they feel, like there's heavy texture on everything. It's really engaging in the senses. And even before this, I was a huge fan of both Emile Hirsch and Brian Cox, and they are so believable as family. Like, their chemistry together is fantastic. And I agree completely. Eli and Jamie, you both said this, but the way they interact with each other, adds to the movie. It's not something that is distracting at all. Like, you totally buy into these guys are third generation doing this. They talk the talk. They seem to know what they're doing. And I too only have one gripe about this movie, but we'll get into it.
Well, we probably all have the same.
Probably, but we'll get into it. So I'm going to start with one question, and then I'll open up, as is my block, I'll take preference in getting the first question out. So my first question is, what are your thoughts on the theory Brian Cox comes up with on how Jane Doe became a revenant? And I'm calling her a revenant instead of a witch because by definition, what she is, if in his theory, isn't that she was a supernatural witch who made a covenant with the devil. She is the vengeful spirit of somebody who was unjustly brutalized. So in my brain, she's a revenant. So let's discuss.
No, not to play devil's advocate with you. No, Brian Cox had that theory. I see with me, she is a witch. And he, in that moment, like, because he's like talking about his wife and not noticing that she needed help. And so they're in this oh shit moment. And he rationalized at his brain, like, I missed it before. This is now my chance to get it and save my son so he doesn't have to foot the bill again, as he worded. And it wasn't. He was, which, with all the glamour going on, it makes sense. But it was, he once again got it twisted and gave her exactly what he needed, or she needed, excuse me. And then the rest was easy from there. Because
he thought she wanted justice. She doesn't want justice. She wants the world to burn.
She's a witch. Yeah. And there are legends and lores of like various places where witches are like, even a dead witch buried is just, if not more dangerous than a live witch on her feet. Because that's why a lot of times in lore, they would bury witches in iron cages, in pits, that they would line with salt and iron, because a dead witch could still do things, if not at a worse degree, because she became a direct conduit for the devil. So I would argue that she was still a witch, but that was him, which I liked that they did that with him, because it's because I feel that in that moment, you've lost all control. You don't really know what you're up against. And it's a dire situation you can't escape. And so him trying to find meaning, and by doing the self-sacrifice, because now he's saving two people, and he's making up for his wife, and that is kind of evil at its most, that inserting that false hope. And then once it comes time to even out the ledger, then all of a sudden be like, JK.
But the question, I feel like part of it, both of you can be right. This could be. So I liked his explanation. I'll say why, because a witch is a witch. I like that he flat out said there were no witches in Salem, because we've learned that it was hysteria and whatever. And so then his justification was but she was turned because of everything.
These girls were still tortured. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I love that. And then you're vengeful, and to Ela, both of your point, Brian Cox can still get it wrong on the solution. She is now just vengeful. They turned her. She's evil. She's vengeful. No one is going to save her. No one is going to get out of this. We're far beyond that point, because she's harboring this for, let's just say, so fucking long, whether she was just harboring it straight from the beginning. I get that. But I'm just saying, so I'm believing both of you in these points, because I like the theory for a witch on her, that's how she became, because of all that. Mm-hmm. But also, you can't save her at this point. It's fucked. What does it even matter anymore? And even in her mind, if she has what does it even fucking matter? Nobody, you guys did this to me to this point. I'm doomed to this, whatever, forever. I don't need anybody's help. There is no saving. Exactly.
To save me to what? This is what I'm going to do is wreck everybody who comes close to me.
Which sucks, which really sucks. And we'll talk about that too. But
but to the point of the reason I asked the question is because it's interesting that Brian Cox would do that have that expository moment, because literally at the beginning, he rebukes his son for trying to editorialize a solution to a crime. And as a coroner or whatever he is officially, he says, you can't figure this stuff out. It is not your job to solve the mystery. It's your job to collect the data and the evidence and give it to somebody else. And then he makes this giant leap of, she was never a witch, but we made her into this, which goes against everything he was trained to do, because in that moment, he's trying to put something logical together so that he can math his way out of the situation.
Yeah. I mean, there are a lot of leaps in this movie, though, just when you use that word, because I literally wrote that on paper, which is fine. But there are a lot of leaps in this movie, one of which just all of Brian Cox's knowledge to do with either witchcraft or these old time, whatever. Like, they immediately know what the Roman numerals mean. Like, they just immediately know way too much that, but I get it. It has to move the story in some way or another. And I'm fine that it's shorter and it moves faster, because
I think it was like they kind of did that as an assumption, because now also I do want to interject quick, for anybody wondering, it was atrocious what they did to those women. I do not think witches were real. Just throw that out there. But when I talk about witch lore, I just just in case there's any confusion out there. But what
we do know that he owns the witch book. We do know that.
I do own a couple of
Malleus Maleficarum.
I do have a copy of the Malleus Maleficarum. But I have other ones too, so it's equaled out. But I will say what I found interesting is I think that they do make leaps about his knowledge, but they're in Louisiana. It was just a throwaway line at the end. So I was like, are they just assuming that all people in Louisiana have knowledge of the supernatural? Yeah. I mean, they have a lot of it. They deal with a lot of it. Yeah. I get it, but I was like, is that how they're is that where he got all of his knowledge from? Because they're
just assume Brian Cox knows everything. That's
I mean, I'm not going to argue with that.
Yeah.
Well, and honestly, if Brian Cox told you something, you would just believe him. Just for sure. As a person.
He tells us to buy McDonald's all the time, guys. For those that don't know, he's the McDonald's.
Which is hilarious. One of my favorite lines. I'm sorry, we are off script. I'm ready to hear this. Have y'all seen Kiss Goodnight?
Mm-hmm.
The Christmas movie. Brian Cox plays a CIA agent, and he's retired, and he's sitting with his wife, who's got this lap dog who has been licking its butt for the last 20 minutes. And he looks at her. He's just finally exacerbated. He's this high level CIA guy, and he's just been sitting at home retired watching this dog lick its ass. And he goes, I just want to propose to you that whatever that dog is licking is gone forever or there to stay. And he just walks out of the room.
Oh my God.
Just gotta love Brian Cox.
Yeah. His delivery, even when he was the way he delivers lines, even when he was doing that practical joke on his son's girlfriend, and the way he was saying things, and
you mean with Chekhov's bell?
Yeah, and he'd wait till she was just about to grab something or say something, touch something, and then he'd be like, but and then his delivery is impeccable.
And that's one of the things I love about this movie. And we've seen it in other movies. I think we referenced it in the thing, but seeing fringe people being experts at something this is not a job people go out seeking in most cases. No offense, Eli, but it's something that we don't think about in our polite society that people have to do. But seeing somebody who's truly competent at it, that it doesn't bother, that has been doing it long enough, that it's just a job to him, is really provocative to me.
Well, it's funny because when I did it, I fell into it. I wasn't looking for it at the time. But that's why I also kind of thought, whether they meant to or not, but I thought it was interesting about how they use that verse speaking about those who defile bodies, whatever, and they be known as witch, because
that's what they're doing.
Right. And even if you look in the funeral director industry, a lot of times you're a big person in the community, people need, whatever, but generally speaking though, if they don't need you, they don't really want a lot to do with you. And they think aspects of you are creepy because of what you're doing.
What you deal with. Yeah.
So it's I thought that was an interesting, whether he meant to make that connection or not, I was that's kind of interesting parallel there.
Yeah, you're not a pariah, but you're just somebody. You're like an insurance agent to the nth degree. Like people don't want to hang out with their insurance agent. They want good insurance when they need it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not the person you go to the clubs with in most cases.
Unless you're me. I mean, to think, not with the insurance person.
That's true.
Yeah. I wanted to point out that I think it was this season. I think it's the most recent season of Joe Bob. He did this movie. So and
really?
He brought on like one of the producers, the writer, not Andre, but like, and someone else. So if anybody wants extra, they gave a lot of fun little, tidbits about the movie. So it's always worth checking out the Joe Bob segments on this movie, on Shudder, whatever, just because like, especially you two, if neither of you have seen it, just because like,
no, I have to look that up.
He brings on writers and stuff like that. And so I think it was the season. I think it was like early in the season, if not maybe I don't know.
Because he always has great trivia and questions.
He does. That's why I'm saying. So he did this movie this year, and I was super stoked. So one of the reasons I watched it this year was like because he did it, and I was just like, well, even though I just watched this, I'm going to watch it again because like,
what a great excuse, yeah,
yeah.
So to that point, because I know how I felt, and I'm kind of mentioning at the top of it, but for you, Jamie, and for you, Eli, does this movie still work for you after several watches, or is it just like a background thing? Like we talked about other movies that you put on in the background and you dial in when the scene happens or when a scene you like comes on. But is this one that you still enjoy from front to back when you watch it?
I still enjoy the whole thing. I know, like for me, and like I sometimes wonder if I didn't have the background I did, if the location of where it's at wouldn't also add to the creepy level. Cause like I feel like, cause I know like talking to friends who like this movie a lot, like that scene with like the lockers, those old ones like that, they are shit and they don't close very well. And if you close them too hard, it'll think it's latch and then it'll be like, and because it's 100 fucking years old, it just squeaks. So like that, like, and like so that doesn't bother me as much, but like the atmosphere for this, I still like, especially when like they're realizing what shape she's in, and you notice like they're starting to like the dread building up in them because they're thinking about what they're looking at, and then you add everything else that happens, like that still builds up. Like I still get that build feeling like, oh, because even just thinking about like, because like, oh man, I'm like, oh, imagine like you all of a sudden you think what something simple is like, oh, she died in this apparent break-in or whatever they're calling it, and then all of a sudden realize like, oh, this is something different, and then oh, why does the radio keep playing that weird song? Why is there a flower in her stomach? Why is there this hex bag in her mouth? Like all this stuff, and it's like, oh, like that still gets me every time. And then like especially like when they leave that room and they're going like around the rest of their office, like that old layout, Lost Your Hopes don't look like that today. And like there's just like when it's dark in there, it's dark, and like even him,
because
like,
they don't have to be pretty places.
No, and even him like hitting the light, I was like, because like those old lights like that, like you gotta do, and I was like, oh, so like, and then just knowing that like you're basically in a circle, like there's nowhere to go, like that dread of just like they can't get out, so they're just going to keep going, and then if they go to the one end, they know that's where ground zero is. Like that isn't an option, and like the elevator doesn't work, and now they can't get there, so they're just going to keep going in this circle.
And those corner mirrors are fantastic.
God,
it is such a good job
well in this. Yeah, they use so well in this. Like my other apartment building used to have them, and like, couldn't
see those without thinking about this movie.
But it's just like, it's such a good use of those. Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, in this movie, this movie is just shot so well. Everything is set up so well. And like, yeah. I've watched this movie so many times that unfortunately this most recent watch, which was like today while doing things, couldn't have me sit. But again, I've watched it at least 2 times this year or 3 times this year. I don't know, because
the beats.
And I know the beats. So I still love this movie. We talk about this all the time, or I at least bring it up all the time, that like when I sit down for our podcast and I have my notebook and now I'm taking notes, I pick on it more and I start to notice. I had nothing to really negative say at this movie that I haven't had to say from the first time I watched it, which we will talk about. That is stay the same. But like, but as far as like it, I think if I sit down, turn the lights off and watch this, it will still hit. But at this point, like knowing all the beats, I can't say it's like but it's still engaging. It's still like, it's a movie that like, no matter how many times I've seen it, like if I turn to pay attention to it, like now I'm sitting paying attention to it because it is just like engrossing. And we know me, I don't like slow burns. Like it's important to note this movie is not long. It's like an hour and a half.
Yeah, it's tight.
So, like even the slow burn is just like the first whatever it is of the movie, maybe half hour. I don't know. Because then shit starts to amp a little bit. It gets creepier and creepier. Once it gets amped, it's just there. And we're like, but yeah, it's well paced and it's so engaging even for a quote unquote slow burn. Most slow burns are not engaging enough for me, and I start to lose and I'm distracted, and we all know that. This one like does not do that. It's like, why the fuck is she like this? Every time they take out an organ, it's fucking bizarre. Why is her lungs scorched?
Where
to
are
death?
the answers?
Nothing on the outside. Why does she have it's just every time you're just like, what the fuck is wrong with this girl?
Yeah, how the hell do you get your subdermis tattooed without your skin?
Like, why is her body all like this? While it's the poor girl sitting there with her boobs out.
So let's before we get into our gripes, which I think is next, I do want to ask the question of what your favorite scene is, because there's several to choose from in this movie. So Jamie, what is your, if you had to grade one as the scene to epitomize this movie, what would you say?
Mine, I think there's so many good ones. Mine is at least, I'm trying to figure out which aspect, but the aspect of the bell. And I think it might be the first step for some reason with the foot, but like, which done in any other movie, I would have said is like just dumb. It's a jump scare or it's just a typical, but in this movie,
the timing is perfect.
It's like perfect. And like, I had to throw in my least favorite scene because nobody's going to pick it as their favorite, but we do have to talk about Stanley. That's all. Because it's the most heartbreaking thing, like in this movie. We see it in a lot of movies, but it is heartbreaking in this one. We'll talk about it. So yeah, so the bell, and let's just say it's like that first step. It's like when it comes into play, I guess, is like
the first time you hear it.
Yeah, I think either, or like the first step of it, right? Because they're kind of the first time you hear it, any of that, when they use the mirror for one of those scenes is like my favorite. I don't know, just like one of those.
So it's all around Jangalang for you.
Yeah, I like the bell. I like
it's all around the old Jangalang.
I like the bell gimmick in this movie.
It's fantastic.
It gets me. Like, I love it. So
what about you, Eli?
Honestly, for me, I like the scene that I think kind of shows why people are so afraid of glamour was when Brian Cox accidentally kills the girlfriend because he thinks it's a creature, and he plays it so well because it's not this like, once they realize what happened, he doesn't over exaggerate it's like this moment where he's like you saw, and like the son doesn't avoid the dad or like, oh my god, you killed her, because like the son was like, I saw the same thing. And then like now the son's like keeps looking at her like he's almost questioning, and Brian Cox is like, you can just see like the way he plays it was like him like trying to figure out like, we watched that thing walk down the hallway.
Yeah, we saw the same thing.
The elevator, and like how this happened, like that scene, because it is like terrifying and heartbreaking at the same time, because you're like, I don't know if it's her or not, and like you see like now Brian Cox trying to figure out, but then he's like trying to pull himself together because like they need to get out there, and like the son's trying to figure out what's going on. Like that scene was played because that was a scene that they could have very easily, Brian Cox would be like, oh my god, like over exaggerate. The son could have been like, get away from me, like, but no, they played it so well, and like
that they're processing what's happening.
And like they can't, because they're like, it's literally,
we got to get out of here.
Yeah, there's no time. There's literally no time to sit there and like.
It's done so well.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite scene, and it's related to the one Jamie mentioned, but my favorite scene is when they lock themselves in the office.
Oh yeah.
You hear the jingling out in the hallway. Brian Cox goes into the bathroom because he's literally bleeding out because of this wound that he's got on his. So literally there's all this stuff happening in the room while some impending danger is at the door, jingling and banging on the door. And then Emile turns and sees his dad like ripped into the bathroom. So now he's watching the main door get kicked in while he has to go around the corner where he can't see because he's got to get his dad. And literally when he comes back around and the door's wide open, you're like, oh, fuck, man. I mean, the whole scene, the whole way that scene builds is so perfect. Like what would you do? I mean, there is no other option than what he did of trying to barrier the door while your dad's bleeding out. You've been in those situations before. Like there is no good decision to be made here. I've got to just react to what's in the room. And that felt so real to me and so like genuinely horrifying, like above and beyond the supernatural stuff. Just being in that situation, like I can't make a good decision here. Like I've got to make a priority decision to check on my dad while somebody who I assume wants to kill me is breaking into the room at the same time.
Like to your point that you just said, and I think we're saying this, but like to anybody who maybe has never seen it, but is getting it spoiled. I wish you don't. So I hope it, but like for a movie that delves or deals with the supernatural, this movie feels so real. It just feels, everybody reacts real, even though that's like supernaturally his dad gets pulled in and is getting attacked and supernaturally these things in the hallway. It still feels very, very real for something that's like, it's bizarre because I'm usually not even into that shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like,
and these are not superstitious or religious people. These are just people.
They're just normal people, like trying to do their job, which is devastating in the end, like whatever. But like, and we'll touch on just that whole trajectory. But like, I mean, I don't know.
So let's break the seal. Let's get into the gripes. First gripe, I know that you just mentioned, let's talk about Stanley the kitty cat.
So Stanley's a gripe, but not a gripe. So now we all know killing animals in movies. And God, my sister and I have a whole social media about it and whatever. But this one is devastating. And because of everything that goes with it, and whatever, I'll say it's for those that don't, and I'm going to cry while saying it, but like they have a cat in this movie, a cat that for all intents and purposes, Brian Cox can't stand, but it was his wife's. And like, so he does love it.
It's the last thing he has.
It's the last thing he has of her. But it's a cat. I have a cat. Eli has a cat. Dave now has a cat. Right? I'm one kid. Okay, good. So like, we all know cats.
Not by choice. A cat has me. I'll put it that way.
So we all know cats. And like, you know, they could be annoying. They could be whatever. And like, he even says whatever he says. He might even say that damn cat at some point. But it's a cat. Okay. They find it very, very, very badly wounded. And now, God, I'm like, now Brian Cox has to put it out of its misery. Yeah, sorry, I should say, like, put it out of misery. The last thing he has of his wife that like, and this actually is what kickstarts, I think. This might be like the first thing that happens. I think it really is. Like, there might be like creepy, like atmosphere
radio
or whatever.
And stuff
but this is the first, like, and they don't know yet, but for our purposes, this is the first weird thing that happens because like who else mangled this cat? You know what I mean? Like it's got to, you know, I assume, unless you guys have something else to tell me, but I assume this is all stemming from the same place. But so now he's got to put this cat out of his misery and have a moment. And it's just like most animals in movies are killed for no purpose other than shock value or to make you feel something or whatever. And this definitely makes you feel something, but it also, it's not even the shock value of killing it's just like everything Brian Cox has to deal with that is just like really fucking heartbreaking. So it's just like, yeah. And that starts this whole bullshit of like,
and
everything that happens.
The way he plays it, like the way Brian Cox plays it is you can tell he's heartbroken, not necessarily about the cat, but what, like you said, what the cat represents, but just having to go through there's only really one right thing to do in this situation. It's an awful thing. I don't want to do it, but I've got to do it. And then I'm going to cremate the cat. Like literally just going through the motions of, I've got to do the right things. I hate everything about what's happening right now.
It's so sad. It's really sad. It's really fucking sad. The whole, like, it's just sad.
And to your point, there's well, 4 if you count the girlfriend, but there's really only 3 characters in this entire movie, and the cat is one of them. And he's only on screen for like 5 seconds.
Yes.
And when he's first introduced, you have that eye roll moment as a horror fan who's watched tons of horror movies, knowing this is the freaking jump scare cat that's going to be jumping out of vents, and it's going to be a problem through the movie. But literally, then again, you have that flipped on you. Like when he's looking in the vent, you are expecting the cat to hit him in the face. Like you're waiting for the jump scare cat to launch out of the vent, and then just the look on his face, like of horror. And then he pulls Stanley out.
Yeah.
It's so much more effective than the jump scare it would have been by a lazier director.
Yep.
Well, and I think too, what's really smart about that scene is when you get to the ending and you start thinking about, like, you get to I don't know if I call it a resolution, but you get to the end of the film and then you start thinking about what happened is you don't know if that was real or not.
Yeah.
I never even thought of it that way. I thought that part was. You're right.
You don't know if that actually happened, 1. Or 2, you don't know if the cat was actually hurt. But that's
which makes it even more horrifying.
Yeah, yes. No, please, Eli, don't put that in my head.
I know, and I'm so sorry, but like that scene was so like that, and like that's where like this movie gets smart is like, because once you get to the end and then you start thinking about how you got there, there are scenes that were already profound that becomes so much more profound and or horrific on which side of the line you fall on.
Yeah.
Like this movie was done so smartly. Like it's like the best way I can put it. Like
it's the best. It's a great conversation movie because I've had this conversation and I fall on the line of they brought this cursed woman here, revenant witch, whatever she is. The actual autopsy never actually happened. Mm-hmm. Like she took over, made them see all of this stuff. Yeah. Because if you think about it, the only people who kill anyone are them.
Yeah.
Like, the monsters, quote unquote, from the locker don't kill anybody.
Oh, yeah, they don't. No, they don't. Yeah.
But Stanley, the girlfriend, and each other literally were all killed by them.
Which is why, Dave, I think that cat scene is 10 times more real. I'm the same view as you. But then because of that, I assume the worst outcome that scene with the cat, which is even more horrifying than how it's portrayed. Yeah,
if he's holding a healthy cat and then that's what he does.
Oh my God, please.
We'll move on.
So, wait, can we? I mean, you guys can correct me. I feel like because I watched this enough times and I didn't even bring up, I have discussed this before on a podcast. Caitlin had me on her podcast, Plug It Up, and we discussed, my sister and I discussed this movie. And I went through my notes there too. I did watch this again. I took my own notes, but then I went back and looked at any notes I made from that one because I just wanted to cross-reference. And I put a big in a circle because I guess I paid attention that time too. The girlfriend. Her body is not in the end. They walk down that hallway and she's not dead, right? She was never there, right? Because I wrote no in my notebook. Okay. I was like, because this time I couldn't focus again, but like I went to my notes again and I was just like, I had a big no next to her, like next to the girlfriend, whatever. Like, cause she was never even there, right? Like the second.
All glamour, bro. Yeah. All glamour.
So they don't even kill the girlfriend, which is, fine.
And if you look at the digital clocks in the examination room, they don't tell the same time and they don't tell the right time. Like the sequence of time makes no sense in what the clock showing.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, she could have died. She was kind of annoying, but she's only in for 2 seconds. So
right. Yeah.
30 seconds.
But to your point, there's no evidence that she was actually ever there.
Ever there.
Just like genuinely, even when the sheriff and the people that show up finally get there, there's no evidence of Brian Cox's injuries other than the one that his son gave him.
Yes, that's fair. Yes, I know that. But
or of the son's injuries, he doesn't have any of the blood or anything on him.
But that being my theory brings me to my one gripe with this movie.
Bring it up.
I do not like that her freaking toe wiggles at the end of this movie.
I don't.
That is so unacceptable to me.
It's so dumb.
It's such a lazy, stupid throwaway that actually hurts.
I don't like Dave. I don't like the last 2 minutes because, if I may,
Sure.
One, they're never just going to throw a half sheet of plastic on somebody and leave a dead person's face and feet exposed. One, that's how you get bugs. Two, they're always going to put in a body bag. Three, that's not how chain of custody work. A sheriff just can't go, fuck it, I don't want it in my county.
Get it out of my county.
Take it to another parish. Like, that's not how that works. Four, you have an active crime scene and you're just like, fuck it, take some of the evidence there. I don't want to look at.
Make it disappear.
I don't want to look at. Which is odd. And so, like, and then they're driving in broad daylight with his body not covered, except for from the boobs to the knees.
Now there's modesty, guys. Now we need her covered.
And like, which is lame. And then like just not even strapped into the fucking back of the van and just laying there. And then they do that stupid little toe wiggle. I was like, all right, so obviously we didn't know how to end this. Like that's, or like we didn't like just ending it at the police there, showing the outcome. Well, we're gonna put this little thing in. I don't know if they did that because they're like potential sequel or like what, but like that last 2 minutes are
because the beauty of this movie is throughout this movie, when something spooky is happening or when there's a tense situation, the camera goes to her body, like goes to a tight close up of her face, and you're waiting for her to blink, you're waiting for her to sit up, you're waiting for her body to move in any way, and it doesn't, and that's beautiful.
This actress is amazing. She's a model.
Yeah, you can't see her breathe,
something like that, and she did it. I don't think she's been in anything else because you got to think about this is a fine line. This is like, we need someone who wants to be a bot, who wants to lay here with no clothes on for however long.
8 hours a day for 5 weeks.
Yeah. And like, but she, my God, and the look on her face at all times, even though there is no emotion, there is emotion. Like she is, I don't know who this girl is, but give her every accolade that there is out there because she's like playing this dead witch like it's nobody's business. Like, I don't know. I feel like.
Yeah, like when he does the pelvic exam on her and is talking about all the trauma that has happened to this girl, and then it does a tight on her face, you're like, she's going to scream out at any moment. Something's going to happen.
Or
and
like
the fact that it doesn't is even worse.
Yeah, because it keeps doing it to you. You keep thinking now's the moment. Now, like the first time, I'm trying to think of the first time I watched it, like now is the moment. Now, and it never. It's like no, there is no. There's no moment. She's not. No,
she doesn't need to move, bruh.
No.
Which is what pisses me off about the toe.
Yeah.
The toe is
cheap thrill.
It doesn't even fit in this movie. Yeah. Like it's, I mean, thank God it's the last thing of this movie because it doesn't. It's not enough to take. It's not enough to take away from what this whole movie is. But they should have just 3 seconds earlier. I don't even mind the song playing because that's with her. Like I feel like that makes like
that can be
sense.
Part of the hallucination still.
Yeah, like I don't mind the song. But the toe is like a weird thing. I will say what I do like. The ending feels very okay. I know it's a movie, but we've sat here and we've like gone on about how amazing this movie is from just the atmosphere, the way it's shot, just every storytelling. But the ending feels very movie all of a sudden. Like it feels very horror movie, if that makes sense. And Dave's nodding his head, so I assume I'm kind of making some sense. But it's like this masterpiece of cinema, in my opinion. That's an exaggeration. But then it just feels movie. It feels like this could be an Insidious or something by the time we get to the end of it. The only thing I do like, and when we say end, we mean like that last 5 minutes of the movie. Nothing takes away from like what you've sat through for like an hour 20 or whatever. But I will say the one thing, it's so dumb, but me personally, the one thing I do like about the end of the movie is that I know Eli pointed out all the things that would not happen, but I do like that because in cliche movie, this wouldn't be the case, I feel. But I do like that the sheriff is like, no, something else happened here because these guys wouldn't do this. Because you feel bad enough that this family died. Yeah, you feel bad enough this family died for basically no reason. They got this body, they're doing their job. Sort of, whatever, everything that happens, but like, the sheriff was just like, no way. I know that like
I do not accept that.
I don't know what happened, but something fucking happened here. Get it the fuck out. Like, then there's all the problems that Eli said. But again, it's the last 5 minutes. But it soothes my soul a tiny bit that these men didn't die for like with the belief that the son killed his father. And what it's just like, they're just like, no, something happened here. I don't know what, but it's like.
Yeah, it is nice that he's not an idiot Like he's not.
It's like so many.
Because you're right. They're trying to package the end of this movie, and it would be so easy to say, "We'll never know." But no, he's like, "No, this is unacceptable. I've got to work this scene. I can't deal with."
I was about to spoil, but then I realized I don't know if anybody's here has seen another movie, because I'll say there's another movie that does that. Exactly what I'm saying, they do the opposite, and you're just like, why did we just sit through this whole movie with these characters? Then for the outcome of, it doesn't matter, but for everybody to blame the wrong person, put him in jail, and then everybody to believe that they did do it, when it's like we all just watched this whole movie of what these characters went through and that other things were at play, and then they get blamed. At least in this one, it's like there's this minor reassurance that it's like.
Yeah, and we talked about some of that in Your Next. Like they came really close to that problem happening in that.
I'm thinking of another one that I didn't even think of when we were next, but now I'm not.
But I will say the difference, though, is a dead body had more personality than the final girl in Your Next.
Okay.
I would just like to throw that out there. As my own personal opinion.
One of my favorite pieces of trivia in this movie, since we're talking about the body or the main character in this movie, really, I mean, Jane Doe, who was played by Olwen Kelly. This is one of her own. I don't think it's her only. It's one of her only acting credits. But I read that Andre and her sat down because Andre knew that this was going to be a hard sell to anybody. Like you needed the right person to understand what he was going to do here, because the pitch is you're going to lay butt ass naked on a examination table, a stainless steel table, and that's it. That's what you're going to do. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a lot of acting and action around you, but that's your whole job.
And you can't react to nothing.
Yeah. And and he knew that was going to be difficult, but when he and Olwen talked through it, she became like the champion of this movie. She was, according to what I read, she was actively working to make everybody else at ease. Like she was telling jokes and she was just acting as casual and as comfortable. And obviously some of that is put on, because you have to imagine how you would feel as a human being. Exactly. But like she was the one who championed everybody's feeling more comfortable, which I think is fantastic.
Yeah, she's old. I feel like they touched on that on the Joe Bob too. I might go back and watch that now that I just watched this again, and because I do also feel like I didn't make it through the whole episode due to whatever. I mean, it's on Friday nights, and I might have been she again, give this woman. I don't know this woman, but give her everything.
Well, you figure too, because the other aspect of this movie, which I think adds to the ambiance, is the taboo of death and dead bodies and seeing these things and but you figure now add that layer, okay, yeah, I'm butt naked laying here. I'm also on a table I'm hoping they never used for embalming or autopsies, on a head block, which are hard plastic. They're not
they're for dead bodies, not humans.
It's not a pillow, but once again, I hope they were never used. And you're now in that position that realistically no one ever wants to be in. And that's where you are. You're there.
Yeah.
For the record, I'm mixing her with another actress in another movie because she has been in a bunch of stuff. Not major, but so I'm mixing her with someone else who had to do something, but was only in one or two movies. But doesn't change any way I feel about her. I'm just clarifying in case she's listening, I'm so sorry. You are in a lot of movies. I was mixing you with a fun fact from some other movie that now I can't think of, and I feel like it was a similar situation where it's a woman who's either mostly naked the whole movie. So someone give me that movie real quick. I don't know.
Are you talking about 13 Ghosts?
Maybe I am talking about her. You're so good here.
True things.
My brain is going. Maybe you might be right, because we had that whole conversation. You are fucking right. I think it's 13 Ghosts. This girl had to be naked way longer than 13 Ghosts. So I
do less.
But yeah. So
well, you figured this is much more intimate than 13 Ghosts was.
Well, yeah, they're over her all the time. They're on top
right
of
in her face, and it's and you figure the subject matter, I would argue, is much heavier because they're going to human trafficking and and even when you get down to torture for being a witch, that's you're talking about some heavy shit.
Yeah.
But it's all done so.
Wait, did I look at the wrong actress?
Fucking toe wiggle.
Guys, I might look at
Was that your gripe, Eli? We never got to your big gripe.
Yeah, the last 2 minutes are my only gripe of this whole movie. Well, whole movie, because the other thing I didn't like was like, and it's just me being the lore guy, but like, glamour was so dangerous because it was personal. It glamour when you had glamour thrown on you, it was twisting your perceptions, your things that meant something to you. Like that's why it was so effective on people. And so like that whole thing with the bell, like Brian Cox talked about like, I'm a traditionalist. Like this is something my dad did. So I continue to do it. And like these old bells, even though like no one does that anymore, that's not a thing. But he still does it. And it was something personal to him. And like it was being used against him. Something that you have to imagine was this thing that made him feel close to his dad because I'm the second generation. I still use my dad's bells. And now it's being used against him. And then, so presumably, once he's dead, that bell doesn't mean anything anymore because he's dead. And so then she goes there with her toe and is like, with her toe tag. And like, I was like, motherfucker. I was like, this is so dumb. I did not. I did not like the last 2 minutes of this movie. That's
so just
like,
next time, just turn it off before.
Well, that's how
when
like
when the cops come.
When
know what I mean?
you ask me what the ending of this movie is, it's when they, even though it's the whole like, I don't even want her in this parish.
It's that,
like,
right?
that it ends there in that room. And then if I'm like, but then there's 2 more minutes, I think it sets up a sequel. I don't know.
I mean, it might. We haven't gotten one. I don't need one. I don't think anything will touch this movie. It'll end up like an Insidious or whatever. Like it won't hit like this movie hit. This movie felt very like indie, very small, very like, I don't know. This movie just works.
I would argue that this movie, if you do a sequel or you try to build more on it, this one loses impact.
Probably, yeah.
Because the whole point of this is like, as the viewer, you're in no better position than they are. And like, that's like at the end, I'm questioning about this cat. I don't do that if there's a sequel. And then all of a sudden they add rules and like,
I didn't do that until you guys told me because now Jamie's not going to sleep tonight thinking about he killed an innocent cat.
But hey, hold on. But Jamie,
now she hates Brian Cox.
Hold on,
now
Jamie.
I hate this movie.
Hold on, Jamie. There's a third option.
Yes.
Cat was never there. Cat's still outside running around.
Aww.
There's a third option for you, Jamie. Now, I'm not saying that's the option I believe in, but that is an option. Trucy twins, right there.
The evil of glamour.
I don't really want to harp on this cat, but can I ask you why it's? Oh, never mind. I'm sorry. You picked the worst option where like it was a healthy cat and he whatever. Okay,
yeah.
Say, never mind.
That's I give them credit for using glamour because like. I know, like when you talk about which
I'm sorry. Every time you say glamour, though, I'm just I feel like we're in like
that's the same thing.
Or some
like
nonsense.
Like they talk about if
it's group hallucination for them.
Or like watch like documentaries, like they talk about like their most dangerous weapon was considered glamour. And everybody's like, how lame! They could make themselves look beautiful, and it's like, oh no, that was easy glamour. Like if they had some intent behind that shit, you get shit like this where they're like killing each other and like killing cats. Not really, Jamie. Not really. Like, no way. Like the glamour was, and like that is why it was so weird. And like, even if you look once again, which is all crock shit, like these people were just whatever. But like, even if you look like, people were afraid to get involved in Salem for a while because they're like, if there are witches, I think they're glamoring this whole town. They didn't want no part of that. Well, what was going to the fucking town?
Well, and to that theory, which I just think is a fun mental exercise to rewatch this movie, thinking, okay, none of this is happening. None of this is happening.
Yeah.
But the beauty of even that is it would make sense if a revenant or witch or whatever you want to label this creature as, their first target would be the cat, because cats are half in, half out of the spiritual.
Cats can see through glamour.
Exactly. So that would be the first thing that would have to go, which is kind of compelling too.
You know what's funny?
But Jamie, not in this case.
Not in this case.
That cat is still alive.
That cat's running around. Yep. What's funny is, as you said, like there's never anything in this movie that I questioned was once you understand what this is and that they're hallucinating once the girlfriend goes and then there is no body, it's not the girlfriend. But the cat was something I never thought about until you got never. I just assumed he was the first victim, the same way they are. I just assumed he was the first to get it in some way. But I never fucking questioned, even though the rest of the movie, I'm just well, that's not there. That's not there. That dead body is not walking around the floor. It's still creepy, but that dead body is not walking around, And then the cat, never questioned. I was just no, that cat died. Oh, that poor cat. I mean, was dead. You know what I'm trying to say. I never questioned that wasn't all reality.
Yeah.
Which, once again, I give this movie credit because, they decided that if they were going to have an animal kill, there was going to be a good reason for it.
Yeah.
Regardless of what those options were, where it wasn't just it had to build up to kill the cat first. And you're all right, okay, sure, I guess. But this, it's all part of
this would be a priority. Yeah.
Nothing was good. One, because cats and through glamour, but also two, when this thing was done, nothing will be living on this land. Nothing.
Well, that's how I took it. And I even took it as a way of fucking with him, but even without using visual. If you assume my way of that the cat was already injured or whatever, I just took it as way it started off fucking with him immediately.
Right.
I'm going to kill your cat. You're going to have to kill it. I'm sorry. I'm going to mortally wound your cat. Right. You're going to have to kill it. Same way your son is going to, same way your son's going to have to kill you. You know what I'm trying to say?
Which,
Jamie got them to a point, and then
there is support for your theory because, like I said, with glamour, it went after things that are personal to you. So it literally attacked
that cat is personal.
Everything personal. Because even the destruction, or in his mind, the destruction of that place, that building had been in his family.
Yeah.
And then, which I thought was very subtle, because a lot of the outward stuff was focused on Brian Cox, and the girlfriend was the son, but the whole argument he has getting with his girlfriend is you shouldn't be here. You don't want to do this, but you always choose your dad. And if you notice throughout this movie, even subtle ones, there's always a choice between something and something involving his dad. And you watch, and he constantly, even subtle choices. He doesn't finish cleaning up the blood because his dad has talked to him and needs help with something. He doesn't do this. And then ultimately that choice, that his whole ordeal with that, he didn't even question, killed his father because he asked him to. And that subtleness of that, is if you, when you watch it, just pay attention to the son, and you'll see it's literally choice after choice, and some of them are real subtle and simple, and some of them are more prominent that you can see, but it's insane, that level of minute detail that they put in this. But that when you get to the end, it doesn't feel like you're watching something like the Blair Witch 2, where it's at the end they have to do a 5-minute did you notice in this scene there were 3 nails pointing towards the east with a wiener drawn on the head? They didn't have to do that, but it's this movie is the movie that keeps giving. Every time I watch it, I'll notice something. I'm oh damn, okay, oh that's cool.
Well, it's also, one of my biggest gripes on movies I always mention is when the movie treats us like we're complete morons and has to explain too much. This movie doesn't really explain. I mean, it does, because he has to explain why she's maybe like this and whatever. But at the same time, all these things that you're bringing up or exposing, whatever, it doesn't blatantly explain those to us. If you don't get that part of the movie, you don't get, what I'm trying to say. But
and the director's okay with that.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to go out of his way to say wink, wink, even.
Did you see how clever I was?
Yeah, even the girlfriend, they never confirm it unless you're watching and paying attention to details that it wasn't her, because it could have went that way, because it still would destroy them. It could have went that they saw a monster. They saw the dead body. They mistook it from her, and they kill her because it would still impact them. It would still destroy them, whatever. But instead, no, she's not even, they didn't even kill her. You know what I mean? It's another, which can change it, but not change it, because it's still a matter of, everybody in this movie, and again, there's only 3 people, and one of them is already dead, but not dead. They literally say at one point that she's not dead. But they're all like, everybody in this movie is tragic. Like, it's just sad. It is overall, when you just think about this movie, it's just sad, which sometimes it's hard to watch those. I always say I like though,
and that's the fulcrum of this movie.
Yeah. The more depressing, realistic ending is you don't get out of this situation, but like, it is sad. There's only 3 of them, but they're all tragic, because whether you choose to believe how she became, I choose someone made her this way. And she's just, this is her destiny. This is, whether she even controls it or not, this is her fucking destiny.
Yeah, she's just hate.
Shit apart. She is pure hate. That's it. And then these two just stumble up. They're doing their job for all intents and purposes. They're trying to figure out what happened to this poor girl.
She doesn't give a crap about them or who they are or what their circumstances.
It's just like, because like, even like with me, like I believe she's a dead witch, but like, that's even tragic, because like, there was nothing they could have done. Like they as soon as that body went in their door, there's nothing, not a single thing to be done. And now it's just going to go on to the next one.
Yep. Yeah. It's just always going to happen. And like,
which is kind of foreshadowed in the opening crime scene. Like the fact that they had found her. Somebody had already dug up part of her. And then this awful thing had happened, but nobody had broken in. You start to realize that that's just what happens. Like,
that's it. Yeah. You find her, you're fucked. That's it. Someone's going to put a cement block on her, I guess, and put her in the ocean. But it's going to take like 12 families of dying before someone's like, every single time this random Jane Doe is in the room, in the house.
Wait a minute.
Something's not right here.
But the beauty of that is what Brian Cox and Emile Hirsch are doing throughout the whole movie. Like, that's not possible. So let's figure out what's actually possible. And, and then you have this whole other layer of, when they're taking a specimen out of her brain and seeing that it's got live brain cells on it. Is that real? Or is that something she's showing them?
See, like all that stuff I always took at face value. But now I'm like, now I'll just rewatch it with
Yeah, we all know it's impossible to have your subdermis tattooed, but it sure does make a stark brain image. I mean, it would screw with you if you had done this for your whole life and then see something that's not possible.
Yeah, that's
that your science cannot explain.
And it starts like right away. Like her lungs are the first thing they see, right? Like the first one. I'm trying to think. It was her broken wrist and ankles. That's right.
I think the first thing is she's been interred in the ground for who knows how long, and she has zero rigor mortis, zero necrosis,
and covered in peat moss.
Yeah,
which does not grow in Louisiana.
Yeah.
Well, he says that, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
He does say you only find peat moss in New England, which I'm going to call BS. Anyway,
that's not true. We had it in West Virginia.
But anyway, we know something is effed about the situation and it's such a great image. Like, you have this red clay mud and it's half dug out, and she's like literally there. She's not in a casket. She's not in a box. It's just a body, like literally like she phased into the earth there. Mm-hmm. It's such a great image.
It's such a good movie.
So
I would hope nobody listened to this whole thing and hadn't seen it, because but again, I recommend this to so many people.
I would say still watch it, because
but like,
it is one of those ones you could watch it. And let me look at Dave and I, like, we've watched both times, and him and I mean, we're on the same lines, but like, I'd say what the fundamental thing we're looking at, him and I have very different opinions. Like, this movie, like, depending on how you look at it, like, it's so good at like, where it doesn't feel like there's a wrong answer, unless you're like, oh, this is a prequel to Ghostbusters. No, you're a fucking idiot. Like, that's wrong. But like, but if you're actually looking at it, like, I don't know if you could find many wrong answers as how someone could interpret it, which is just another testament to how beautifully well this was written and shot.
Are you saying that we've both been shown something in this movie and come to different conclusions on what it is and how we'll react to it?
Yes.
Weird.
That is what I'm saying.
And we know it's not real?
Potentially.
Well, I appreciate y'all being good sports on this movie. I'm looking forward to the rest of them. But I think this was a fun place to start, and always a great conversation, because you'll get not even normies, but people who don't watch a ton of horror movies, even if they're casual horror fans, and you can sit down with them, and then you can start suggesting some of this stuff, and you can see their brain start to steam a little bit, like, what because you watch on the surface and something we've said about several movies in the past. And Jamie, this is something I've heard you say several times. You don't have to read the book or be deep into horror to enjoy this movie. There's enough stuff just going on the surface that you'll have a blast.
Yep. And then you could just keep peeling like we've been doing. And we've had that conversation. It's the reason Nope did not work or whichever one or whatever. But like, yeah.
And it's funny because like I literally I had a coworker who last week was like, finally watched the Blair Witch. Like I didn't like it, and I'm like, but like I wanted to. Like I thought it was cool. I'm like, you know, you should watch. And I recommend this movie. I was like, I think this one. I was like, I you're wrong, and I'm judging you, but I get it. But like.
This movie will meet you wherever you are.
Yeah.
That's what I say. It's a good one to recommend to people. Like I always say, like if someone can just sit down and watch it and still have a good time without having to dive deeper. But if you can dive deeper, great. Like,
this is a perfect example of that.
Because the other thing I think too, it does a good job of you're looking at autopsies, but it doesn't ever feel like gore.
No. Right. That's why I said it's amazing.
Yeah. So I think for like people that are like, I don't like the gore. And I'm gonna be like, well, grow up. But secondly, like you don't have to worry about this one.
If anything, I mean, it could minorly feel gross because it feels so realistic, which is what we said, which is what you gave it credit for. But minorly, what I mean is like it's not over that, but that's just because medically it could feel gross. It's just like you're watching something.
Well, and to something we've talked about throughout this review of Jane Doe being nude through the whole thing, but never for a moment, at least for me, does it ever feel exploitative or gratuitous. Like I don't feel gross. I mean, because I am horrified of the potential of what she represents. I'm not focused on her nudity.
Well, I think like they were also very smart, or like I think that they were like it was respectfully done, and then also like they did smart stuff. They're like, oh, okay, when they opened her up, her flaps are folded. Like her skin flap folded over, and like, but to your point, like at never at one point was I ever like boobs.
Not that movie.
No, exactly. It's not that movie.
As much as I love boobs, it's not that movie. I mean, she looks great when but it's not. You're right. Like it feels. I don't even want to say clinical, but a little like you're like. What is she? Like you're more concerned with where this
you're working the mystery.
Going. Yeah. And like what is happening here that you kind of just forget that she is 100% top and bottom naked. Like just, you don't even think that that's what's going on because you're just, and honestly.
When is she moving?
She's not. Yeah. And you're honestly like, she looks like a dead body without decomposing. She looks like a dead body. She's pale. She's just like laying there like.
Slack jawed.
Hold on, Jamie. Hold on, Jamie. Dave. It also sounds like you're describing me.
What?
Pale and slack jawed.
Okay, look at all. You can see through my skin.
And we are all pale here.
I'm like, I'm so pale. It's ridiculous.
That's true.
Almost like it's a sign of our people, maybe. Well, thank y'all for your discussion. I've had a blast with this one. I think we've said everything we want to say, and to the point that Eli and Jamie made earlier. If you haven't watched this movie, we may have spoiled some aspects of it, but it's still a movie well worth watching. I think for sure. And I don't feel bad for spoiling because the movie's almost 10 years old. So. Sorry if you felt spoiled, but it's a great one.
Point of a podcast, a review podcast.
Exactly.
Don't turn it on if you don't want to spoil the movie.
Exactly. Yeah. At this point, we've told you the title of the movie when you clicked on the podcast episode. If you got spoiled, it may be a little bit on you, but
if you're like, hey,
that's enough audience shaming, I guess.
Yeah. If you're like, hey, I want to watch it, just hit the pause button. Go watch it. Come on back. We'll be here waiting for you.
Well, it's a little late now, but yeah, my dog is trying to turn off my microphone or something. He's like,
he's done. He's like, you're done, Mom.
He's like, you've been between working for however many hours and now you're sitting in front of the goddamn computer.
I need a walk and I need it now. Yeah. Well, to that point, after a hiatus for Camp Wicked Wild, as we had our scorecards, we are returning Dave's Critter Corner to talk about Jamie's favorite part of this movie, who totally goes to the end of the movie completely unscathed.
Definitely alive.
Obviously. Yes. Yeah.
But we
running around in the fields of the
exactly
funeral home.
But we have Stanley the cat and Jamie, I don't know if you looked it up, but actually a cast member properly credited in this movie. Thank you, movie. Thank you.
I probably have because I think we've done them for Texas Chainpaw Massacre also. So I think we may have credited.
Guess what her name is?
That I don't remember.
Sydney.
Oh,
Her name is Sydney. So Sydney is a gray tabby, which can be found in several different breeds. One of the fun facts that I didn't know this, but Stanley saw this because I went back and looked and paused the movie to confirm it. But most gray tabbies have a perfect M on their forehead. Mine did. So that's just part of the way that their patterning always works out on their faces. They have their M on their forehead. Tabby patterns are thought to be a recessive gene held over from when they were wildcats. And, all gray tabbies, cats have the agouti gene. I hope I'm pronouncing that right, which is the gene that creates the tabby pattern. And that's why it can be found in several different breeds. It's just a genetic mutation that you get stripes in your cat. The name tabby, which I didn't know, a fun little fact, comes from a silk producing region of France. It's the same word that they use that we use here called taffeta. Jamie probably knows what taffeta is, which is striped silk. So tabby and taffeta, same thing. Aww. And one of the first stuffed animals ever made on the planet was a gray tabby.
Really?
Yeah. You'll have to look it up. It's a creepy looking thing, but
one of the first. Yeah. Wow.
It was a gray tabby.
Weren't made until Teddy Roosevelt, Jamie.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, that they were made after him.
Teddy. That's why they're called teddy bears.
That's why they're called teddy bears.
Oh, fair, but.
All right, Eli. So what are we following up the autopsy of Jane Doe with on Campfire Tales?
I feel like he's not going to tell us.
I'm going to tell you a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like this is going to be. When I watched this movie, it concerned me that these two didn't know they were dealing with a witch.
These chuckleheads.
That's how you get into danger. Yep. And then I started thinking, do you two? Could you tell me who was a witch? So I got a little game planned to test your skills and to shame you when you lose.
And there it is. At least he's honest.
It's going to come out that we are witches, right? There's going to be something like we're going to...
Listen, I'm not saying that I ultimately win all games, but ultimately I win all games.
We know that, so... I still try as if there's a chance of me winning. Yeah. That's how ridiculous and stupid I am.
It's not.
Optimism is...
You can win, Jamie. Oh. You can win. I believe in you. Kick that ball, Charlie Brown.
So thank you for listening. We hope you've enjoyed the episode. This is the beginning of the block. We'll have 3 more from me to get with you. We did just come off of Camp Wicked Wild. We hope you enjoyed that. That's always fun every year. We double up. We're always a little exhausted at the end of that, but it is also a lot of fun to spend spooky season with twice as much time with my buddies. We do ask you to subscribe, rate the show if you would like to on whatever podcast platform you listen to us on. Give us a comment and a review. You can find us on social media, on X at Wicked While We Are, on Slasher, the horror only community, at Wicked Wild We Are there as well, and on Instagram at Wicked Wild Pod. And we also do a moving picture version of all of our reviews and Campfire Tales on YouTube. Just search the Wicked Wild Podcast and you'll find us on there. If you have any questions or feedback or thoughts or disagreements with any of the things that we've said on this or any podcast, just send us an email, podcast@thewickedwild.com, and I'll read those. So any other news or anything else we need to share?
Just come at us, bro.
Yeah. Tell us we're wrong. See how that goes for you. If you spend the time writing an email detailing why we're wrong, you have not watched enough of our episodes. No. That's all I'll say.
I just want to say you're dealing with the triple threat of terror. Okay, the triple threat of terror. Because if you don't think for 1 minute, Jamie won't punch you in the throat, Dave won't hit you with a log, and I ain't smear shit on your lip. You wrong.
And on that note, and I just saw this in my note, and
threatening people.
One of the things that I thought was hilarious is, why does this mortuary in a basement have like a World War II nuclear bomb shelter, like heavy steel door to get in and out?
By law, you have to for chemicals.
So it's legal.
That was one of the ones I didn't have to do this for.
Gotcha. I just figured it was because everybody was dying to get in.
Oh my God. I knew it.
Good night, everybody.